We're going to jump in. Today's topic is going through our core model. We're now under buyers. So remember, we have 6 components that after years and years of coaching, years and years of training, every book that I could possibly read on real estate, interviewing everyone, it came down to these 6 components that we really need to look at ourselves and go, what would I grade myself on each one of these if I had to take a scorecard on it right now? If it was 1 out of 10 in each one of these categories, where would I rate my business on each one? And buyers is one of my favorite topics to talk about because for a lot of you that know me, you know that I am a strong and firm believer in a listing-based business. Because when you have listings, you can control the inventory, you can control your time. There's a variety of reasons why it's so powerful. So when I think about buyers, my brain immediately goes to how can I leverage buyers to help me produce listings, right? So I want you to think about this. And if you have pen and paper, I want you to write this down because I think there's a couple of keynotes here that we have to get embedded in our mind. First is every buyer is an opportunity for at least 2 listings. Every buyer is an opportunity for at least 2 listings. What I see so many of us do, and guilty as charged, right? I've lived this myself, is we work with a buyer and our whole mind is focused on, I've got a buyer now, I'm going to help them find a home, then I'm going to get them to close, I'm going to post a picture of me at the closing table with them holding a key or whatever, and we're all grinning, and I go, great, job done. Check the box, got the paycheck. That's what I was supposed to do. And a lot of us, don't take this the wrong way, take a lot of pride in that and go, I do it really well. I ask people all the time, I go, how do you know if you're a good buyer's agent? Or are you a good buyer's agent? And they immediately go, oh, I'm the best. Buyers love me. I'm the best in the possible business. I get referrals. People think I do such a great job. And then I always ask the second question. I go, okay, how many listings did you get from this buyer? How many other opportunities were produced from this buyer during that process? And usually, I get this kind of, quasi look on people's faces going, I don't understand what you mean. Like after I close, I follow up with them in 2 weeks and ask them if everything's okay. I have them as an ambassador. Some of us don't even, put them as an ambassador moving forward. I do a number of these things, but my point is during the process, did we leverage the buyer to get us either more referrals or more listings? And this is what the elite agents at the highest level are doing on a regular basis is they're going, the buying process in itself is a byproduct of being able to produce these additional pieces of business all the time. And I used to laugh at this when I used to teach this. I would say, hey, if you take a listing, you can market a listing. You can market a listing. You can have a sign up. You can post it on all your social media. You have the video. You have the pictures. I go, how do you market a buyer? I go, while you're showing them houses, you could have them wear a t-shirt with your company logo on it and kind of walk them around and be like, hey, this is my buyer poster board. That doesn't really work. I can, I guess, post me out showing houses on social media and use that to show people that I'm out showing houses. So maybe they'll want to go look at houses with me as well. So it's more challenging in marketing a buyer than it is working in marketing marketing listings. But I'm going to flip it on its head today, and I'm going to hopefully blow your mind in some aspects of this thought process. I'm going to ask, as I often do, to remove the little devil on your shoulder that's going to say, hey, I don't know about this. This sounds weird, or I've got this limited belief. These are the plays that the top are doing across the country at the highest level. And the only thing that separates some of them, and some of you are in that category on this session, the only thing that separates the top from the average is that they've simplified their processes and they're very good at doing it consistently over and over and over again. All right, so I want you to think about today, what we're going to focus on is what we call a buyer profile. All right. Now, in looking at this very simple page, there's not a lot of magic here. Okay. So if you're working with a buyer, you've got their name, the location, the price point, the motivation, and the timeline. What I want you to understand is really some of you are working with active buyers right now. And that is an amazing tool that I'm going to teach you how to leverage today. Some of you maybe don't have somebody that you're actively working with right now. The secret to what the elite agents are utilizing is they're looking at it and going, every single time I have a buyer, I'm going to create a buyer profile that I'm going to leverage at the highest level to produce listings. Now, the technique that we're going to teach today is how to leverage your buyer profiles to be able to produce powerful golden letters. And big shout out to multiple people on here from completing our golden letter exercise last time we were with sellers. So that must have been what, 6 weeks ago? If you haven't watched that, that's in the dashboard. But the golden letter is a tool that says, I'm working with a buyer and this buyer is looking for a particular property. If you happen to have any interest in selling, I would love to talk to you and maybe we can make a deal, more or less, right? Well, what we realized is the challenge is how do we get these buyer profiles? Some people go, well, I don't have any buyers that I'm working with right now. Some of us were looking at it going, I don't have this huge database of this. I'm not paying for internet buyer leads, or I'm not having any of this. Some of us are getting so inundated with so many leads, we're not looking at it and going, if I just focused on a few buyer leads, and just know this and write this down, 98% of all internet leads that come through any type of system are a buyer lead, right? The flip of this is, how do we take these buyer leads and look at them instead of going, I've got a buyer lead, looking at it and going, I've got a buyer seller leverage machine, right? I'm going to use this buyer to leverage future sellers, but I still got to figure out where to get these buyers from. So next question that I wrote down is, and you can put this in the chat box, where do you get buyer leads from? Where do you get buyer profiles from? If I said, you know what, Anna, I want you to tomorrow to go fill out 4 of these buyer profiles, where would you get them?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not asking Anna, but yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm asking the chat box, right? I'm asking the audience, right? All of the Pulse Power agents in here. Yeah, open houses, internet leads, office shifts. Yeah, you could be working the phones on the office, door knocking, PPC, thank you, prospecting nonstop. I love it. But think about this. Usually when we do this process, we then get a buyer and then we go, now my whole focus is going to be on finding them the perfect house. And I'm going to spend countless hours because my buyer program isn't really set up. I don't really have an automated way that I'm doing things. I don't maybe have a showing assistant system built yet or whatever it is. And we just dive all in and we go, oh my gosh, I got to find this buyer, this perfect. Yeah, IDX feed on the website. I absolutely love that. Go to my database and look at the people who are actively looking. That's a huge one, Ann, right? A lot of us have the technology right now on our websites to be like, who's actively looking at houses right now? So this week, we're going to focus on the most powerful, immediate way that you can almost guarantee that you're going to have 5 to 6 buyer profiles this week. And we do this through a open house process. And when I talk about open house, people know me and they go, Brennan, you've talked to me about this before. You've basically said, like, should I be spending time on open houses? Should I be doing? The answer is, it depends on where you're at in your business, number one. And number two, the answer is absolutely if you have a program in place, because if your mindset is to do an open house, to get buyer profiles, to leverage, to create golden letters, that produce tons and tons of listings. Our own Pulse Power agent, Emma Burns, on here, I was just talking to her yesterday. She sent out, I think, 400 golden letters in December. She's already received 4 phone calls from those golden letters with people that have interest in selling in spring. 4 from 400 letters. That's one listing lead per 100 letters, right? That's massive. If you just think about that, and she's not alone in this. A lot of you have reached out to me as well, but just looking at the economics of this and going, okay, if I know that that's the powerful tool that I have here, then looking at this and going, how do I build a machine around it? So I'm not shotgun shooting all over the place and doing this. So if I wanted to guarantee that I was going to have 5 or 6 completed buyer profiles by the end of this week, well, I would be focusing on really crushing what the elite agents do is a 7th level open house. Now, before some of you go, oh, I know what a 7th level open house is. I thought I did too. Not even close did I have the understanding of some of the techniques I'm going to teach you today. I didn't even think about these. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. Like, why didn't? So we've gone and done the research. That's why you guys are here. So you don't have to go and spend all this time trying to figure out all of these, power plays. The top agents are having a very systematic way of doing this that guarantees 2 listings from every single buyer they're working with. So number 1, it starts with identifying your opportunities, secure the date and time, pre-market the open house, prepare your toolkit, deliver an open house experience, market the buyer after the open house, and then follow up with all attendees. So let me break these down in these steps. And if you're going to take notes, and I strongly suggest you do, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces here. You're probably going to go back and watch this, when you have time. But let's first talk about identifying the opportunity. Now, in our organization, we run a listing play called Sold in 65, which our entire goal is to get your house sold in 65 hours in the first weekend. Now, here's the rub. If that doesn't happen in the first weekend because either the seller won't come down to reality of understanding or listening to the feedback of the activity or the feedback or any of those things, then you're still at a point where you're going, okay, well, I now have this listing. My launch weekend is kind of behind me. Well, now that I have this beautiful listing, I might as well utilize it to produce more leads for myself. And of course, get some more people in to take a look at the property that might be interested in buying it. There's no, of course, that's definitely a possibility that someone will walk into an open house and buy it. I think it's something like 2.3% of all houses are selling from open houses right now. So there's a 2.3% chance that somebody could walk in, but that's not the reason for doing it. The reason for doing it is, when done correctly, opening up these doors. So you go, great, I've got another buyer profile. How can I leverage that buyer profile? Great, I've got another buyer profile. How can I leverage that? So in thinking about this, a couple of things that I think people get stuck on is, you don't need your own listing to host an open house. I know a lot of you already know that. You want to identify a location that you would like to target. And if you can't, that doesn't mean don't do one. That just means you're going to have to try to do it next time. Review the MLS listings by team/brokerage. So the easiest way first is to run the active list in your MLS of all of the properties that are available that your brokerage currently has or your team currently has, and see which one that you want to go and run this play on. You're going to check the days on market. You're checking the days on market. People ask me, does it make a sense to do an open house that's been on the market for 6 months? Does it make it, to do one that's been on for 3 months? The answer is always yes. Of course, you're probably going to get more excitement if the property is newer, but at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter, because that's not your end purpose. Your purpose is to get people through the door, build relationships with them, get buyer profiles completed. When you leave the open house, you're now going to take this buyer profile, draft up your golden letter, bomb these letters out to the neighborhood, and then you're going to see these results start to pour in. Remember, all a golden letter is saying that I'm working with this couple, this buyer, this person, this whoever it is. They're interested in your neighborhood, and I was curious if you might be interested in selling, or if you know anyone in the neighborhood. Now, in talking to Emma yesterday, it was fascinating. She goes, Brendan, I have to be honest with you, I didn't think anybody was going to call. 4 phone calls from 1 mailer. seller leads. Imagine what that looks like. And then we ran the economics, and you go back and watch the previous power play, right? You run the economics of this, you're spending maybe $300, $400. And for some of you, if you don't have that money right now, we gave alternatives on how to reduce that cost dramatically. But if I'm going to spend $300 to get 4 listing leads, I don't know any return on investment that you could possibly have in this world right now that's better than that, right? So yeah, I love that, Aaron. I set up a saved search for myself in the MLS of homes I might want to host for an open house. This way I receive weekly emails of potential properties. Brilliant, right? Like, automate the work. Now she's just going, I know every single week on areas that I'm interested in where I could possibly have an open house. Note any recent price reductions, of course, and review pending and sold comps in the area. So next up, right, we're going to secure the date and time. This kind of sounds like a no-brainer, but there is a lot that goes into this. So for example, this weekend, we know that on Sunday, there are 2 playoff games. I believe one starts at 1 o'clock and one starts at 5 o'clock. If it's me, I'm probably not going to schedule my open house at noon on this Sunday while there's a NFC or whatever the AFC championship game is going on. That's just kind of kicking myself in the teeth of going, probably not going to get as much, traction or people through there. So yeah, go Lions. So 9 a.m. maybe I could do on Sunday, or I'm going to do a Saturday, or I'm going to do a Friday evening after work. So think about your timing of this, of when you're going to maximize the most traffic, right? So post the offer to host your open house internal team brokerage Facebook group, call, text, email agents on team at Market Center, secure a date and time for the listing agent. This is a big one too. Confirm the seller request or preferences. Remember, if you're hosting an open house for another agent, they're giving you a gift. They're saying, I'm letting you use this amazing property for you to help generate more business for yourself. This last line is very important to me because I've been on the listing side of this many of times, and I get someone call me up like, Brennan, yeah, yo, can I host that open house at 123 Elm Street? Like Sunday at 12? And I'm like, absolutely, like no problem. Let me call and confirm with my sellers. And then of course, what happens? Saturday, they go out and get snickerdoodled. They wake up, they're not feeling too hot the next morning. They're like, oh, Brennan, man, I'm sorry. I'm sick. I'm not going to be able to do that open house. So if you could let your sellers know. You know how extremely irritating it is to call a seller and think that they're going to have an open house and then someone bails on it because they're sick, right? I understand that things happen, but if you're going to commit to any agent on earth, you've got to remember that they have a seller relationship that they're working on. They're doing you a favor. The least you can do is follow through unless you're on your deathbed. And even if you're on your deathbed, then look at it as your responsibility to find a replacement. So you're not burning those relationships with other people. Okay. So that is a big one. Now we're about to get into the fun stuff. This is all kind of just maybe some reminder for some of us. Sometimes we've gotten kind of rusty in these thoughts. So of course, we're going to post the open house details on social media. We're going to put it on buy, sell, trade sites. So we're going to post this everywhere possible to get as much attention that we possibly can. We're going to send an email, what we call a batch email or a newsletter, to our entire database. And people go, well, a lot of my database may not live in this area. Who cares? They might have a cousin, an uncle, a girlfriend that lives in that area that's going, oh my gosh, there's an open house in XYZ neighborhood. Leverage your own database to make sure you're marketing to them, and it shows them that you're actively doing all of these different things. So when the time comes, maybe they want to use you. Post the details on the MLS, make sure you have the time, location, all that fun stuff. And then here's not the rocket science stuff. Knock doors on either side of the street, open house flyers, include date, time, location. Anytime we're doing any of these outbound activities, we're doing these activities to find out who might be interested in selling. So if I'm knocking on someone's door, my door knocking script is going to be, hey, I'm having an open house this Saturday at blah, 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 blah. We're expecting a ton of traffic. Would love for you to come by. Would love your feedback on the property. And because we're going to have so much activity, I was curious, because we're going to have a lot of backup offers. If you were to move, where would you guys go and when would that be? They're going to be like, well, I guess I really haven't thought about it. Well, let me ask you, if we were to bring you an amazing over asking price cash offer, something that would just blow your mind as far as a perfect offer, what would that offer need to look like for you guys to move on? Not knock on door, hey, I'm having an open house. I'd love for you guys to come by. I'm going to have free bagels. All right, you can make it? Okay, good. High five. Maybe not. Okay, good. No worries. Every action that we're doing has an immediate opportunity to build another listing opportunity in our database. So then call neighbors, and of course, make sure you're honoring all the TCPA things and invite all of them. We talk about that technology all the time. And then here's one that I really think is a key. Door knock, call, or text expireds and for sale by owners in the area, and seek approval to bring buyers by that come from that open house. So think about how crazy this is. You're going to do an open house this weekend, run all of the expireds, run all of the for sale by owners that are anywhere near that open house, and you're going to call them, and you're going to have this script, right? We're going to provide that script in the chat box. So, hi, Miss Expired. My name is Brennan with Elite Home Partners, and I see your home expired a year ago. I just listed the home over at 123 Elm Street, or I'm hosting an open house at the home at 123 Elm Street. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath listed for $650. Our open house is from 10 to 1 on Sunday, and we've been getting massive attendance in this area. It's likely we'll have buyers that are not interested in the open house. Are you open to reviewing any offers if your home is a good match for one of our buyers? Think about how different that conversation is for an expired, even if you text message them this, of course, following all the legal rules and all the things, right? TCPA, right? But even if you just sent this, you're not saying, hey, I want your listing. You're going, I'm doing an activity in your area. We're going to have buyers from it. And when we do, they might have interest in your property. Now, if they say, yeah, that would be awesome, be like, okay, well, I'd love to stop by and preview the home so I can learn more about the special feature and share those with any of the qualified buyers. Now you just got your foot in the door with an expired by leveraging an open house. That is beyond power. Again, the whole game with expireds is you just have to get your foot in the door. You just need a different angle of how to get in there. This gives you that, and you're providing value. So print this one out, add it to your conversation book. It is a powerful tool. And then, of course, using it for sale by owners. You want to earn a for sale by owners business. Again, we know 86% of all for sale by owners are going to list with a licensed real estate agent at some point. They just don't know when yet and who. That's an 86% chance you call up that for sale by owner instead of like everyone else. Hey, I was calling. I was curious if you want to sell your house with me, and they're going to go, yeah, no. If I call them though and utilize this same conversation, they almost have to say yes unless they're a nut job, right? So leverage the tool at the highest level. Now, as again, our legal said, make sure we have extra layers of this. There's a lot in here about making outbound calls, doing text messages, doing all of these things. Follow all the rules and regulations, keep yourself safe, make sure you're doing everything in a compliant format, okay? Next up, we've got to prepare our toolbox, and this is a big one too. So our toolkit, excuse me. So remember, registration form printed in digital. You just don't know if anything's going to go down. We have one that we're going to share with you. Open house flyers highlighting the property include seller stories, special features, and hidden gems. Again, you're marketing yourself, your name, your contact info on this. I see agents all the time do open houses and they have nothing to hand out, and it blows my mind. Seller rating sheet. So again, you can have them complete a rating to provide feedback to the seller, especially if it's on your own listing. If you have a listing right now that's not selling, the fastest way to get a price adjustment is to have a ton of people come to your open house, have them fill out your seller rating sheet, and then when they score it in certain categories low, you can have a conversation with your seller that's going to help you get the price adjustment, because it takes the heat off of you and you're going, this is what the people are saying, right? Watering snacks, of course, 2 to 3 comps printed with higher and lower to show unrepresented buyers. And then, of course, you need to make sure that you have tons of signage, right? We got to make sure that, again, our kind of golden rule is five signs is the absolute lowest amount. If you're going to do any open house, you need to have 10 signs out there. If you don't own 10 open house signs, it's kind of like you're a carpenter and you don't own a hammer. It's part of your toolbox, right? So if you're looking at this, and like we were saying with Stephen, and again, aligning with his open house goals and looking at his different things, adding these strategies to it just to make sure that you're maximizing your time is going to make it that much more effective. And then, of course, arrive early, 30 minutes, light, bright. We know all of this fun stuff. Signs, major intersections, entrance to neighborhood across the street, water, snacks. And then, of course, go live on social media, taking advantage of that entire process. Now, here's the big thing that we want to make sure we're switching up on this. Engage with all the visitors. Do not sit while they're present. I've gone in open houses. People are sitting in the back of the house at the table, and they're like, let me know if you have any questions, bro. I'm like, cool, great job. You're really crushing it today there, whoever. So we want to be active. Remember, you're doing this open house to get buyer profiles completed. I want you to go in with the mindset of going, I'm going to leave today with 5 buyer profiles that I'm going to leverage to go take listings. Not, I'm going here to meet 5 buyers that hopefully might want to be able to buy a house in the next 2 years. When you switch the paradigm of this, you're going to have a lot more fun with it and be a lot more excited about this entire process. So print out the buyer profiles. You're not going to have them completed. This is for you after you're having the conversation. Then, of course, marketing after. This is where the fun comes in. So you're going to send the golden letter to the neighborhood on behalf of the buyers who attended the open house. You're going to send the golden letter text in a TCPA compliant thing. So the text is the same thing as the template that we have for the golden letter, right? That text that you're going to send out, whether you're going to use easy text or whatever text compliant form you want to use, we use easy text, it's great, right? You can text out to all of these potential people in a neighborhood that you have a buyer that's actively looking for a home in their area. That's a pretty powerful tool. And then, of course, door knock, and that's the best face-to-face that you can have. And then, of course, phone calls, right? Depending on the tech that you're using, whether it's Mojo, Vulcan 7, the Red X, whatever it is, you're going to call and be like, I have a buyer. I just hosted this open house. The house I hosted wasn't the right fit for them. They're looking for this, and this. So I was calling all the neighbors to see if you or anyone you know might be interested in selling. It's critical, right? Then number 7, the last piece, now we're going to put them in our CRM, of course, duh, but now we're going to process them, right? We're going to initiate our 8x8 relationship management campaign. We're going to talk a lot about that next week, the 8 steps that we do over 8 weeks to make sure that we earn the trust of any person we meet for the first time. We're going to tag agents, that whether they're represented by a buyer appropriately. And one of the things that I want you to think about, if an agent comes in with their buyer or an agent comes in by themselves, another byproduct of great open houses is they might want to join your team or your brokerage. Maybe you have profit share. Maybe you have what we call G share. What another great opportunity to follow up with the agent, be like, hey, thanks for bringing Susie by my open house. It was really nice meeting you there. So can I ask how everything's going at Dolphin Real Estate, whatever their company is? Oh, things at Dolphin Real Estate aren't so great? Oh, well, you know what? I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you or point you in the right direction of who can help. So we have a checklist built in here, and I want to make sure I save enough time to do this. Of course, when you look at this checklist, these are the kind of things that we have to have our mindset dialed into. Now, there's a whole nother process that I'll post in our Facebook community of how to light it up to get a ton of people at your open house. Again, calling and inviting, all of that. We have a number of those steps in there. But if you remember these 7, but have the mindset that you're going into it to complete buyer profiles, you have your sign-in sheet. The sign-in sheet is great, right? There's nothing wrong with the sign-in sheet. I don't really care about the sign-in sheet. I'm trying to build rapport and create buyer profile sheets that I can leverage when I leave that property.